Do you want to be heard right now, or do you want advice? Like, do you just want to be listened to?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all we need.
Hey guys, I'm excited to be here today with Jenny Adams. She is from Somerset in the UK, but is on holiday in Devon, also in the UK. So very grateful to her for spending part of her vacation time to be here with me and with all of you to share a bit of her story. She has lived with ME/CFS since she was in her, I believe, mid-20s, and for a couple years it was so severe that she was in a wheelchair. So she's had a really challenging time with this, but thankfully in time found what she needed to fully recover. So she is here to tell us a bit about that journey. So Jenny, thank you so much for doing this today.
Yeah, nice to be here. Yeah, it's great to speak to you.
So how did this all start for you?
Well, so I think my journey started from it started with trauma. I had quite a traumatic kind of teenhood. My dad died when I was 13. I got glandular fever when I was 15, and that was kind of the real like trigger point of something happening in my body, and I never quite recovered. I was in an abusive relationship at the time as well, and at the time I was like 15, 16. I was going to work on the weekends for my weekend job as a teenager, and realizing adults are always moaning that they're tired and everything hurts all the time. And I just thought, oh, well, is this growing up? Everything's supposed to ache, and I do a 4-hour shift and I need to sleep for like 12 hours afterwards. Is that just being an adult? And then it took me years of going to the doctor and being like, should I be this exhausted all the time? Should everything hurt? And really kind of pushing them and kind of being told, oh, you've got depression, you've got anxiety, here's some antidepressants, just kind of go to bed earlier, just kind of being fobbed off. And then I think it took me 8 years to get diagnosed finally with ME. And I remember being diagnosed in hospital and going into the toilets because, that was the only place I was allowed to show my emotions at the time. And bursting into tears and just being like, oh my God, I'm not going crazy. This is an actual thing and they can help me now. I know what it is and there's going to be help, right? Not necessarily. As a lot of people probably know, you get the diagnosis and then off you go to live with it. So that was kind of where it started. I would then add more stress. There was lots of not very good relationships that I was in. I'd go to work and there was just a lot of pressure on me from work, from kind of family, friends, partners, and then internal pressure of me not being able to say no to things, just adding up, and getting so stressed out until it kind of accumulated in one event of, I remember I was in work and I was exhausted and I thought, I can't get up to go to the toilet. Oh my God, I literally cannot walk from here to the other side of the room to go to the toilet. And everything just kind of erupted and I just burst into tears and I was just complete like mess. Everything just came out then. And everyone around me is like, oh, she's kind of been keeping all this together. Where's this come from? And that was the point where I really then ended up spending a lot of time in bed. I don't think I went back to that job for 2 or 3 months. There was a real steep decline, and I don't think my friends and family necessarily realized how bad I actually was at the time. And then I'd just spend a couple of years just not really going out and doing anything. I'd go to work and then I'd come home and just sleep. I'd live on rubbish food. It was just work and sleep. That was my life. And then I met someone who encouraged me to get a wheelchair, and then I moved on to a mobility scooter because I realized I don't have the energy to actually propel myself around in a wheelchair, and I wanted the independence of that. So having that then allowed me to actually go out and do things, and like I was probably 23, 24 at this point. So just going out and doing the things that other 23-year-olds do, going to the mall, going to the cinema, going and doing those things. And it did give me, yeah, it gave me legs, I guess. It gave me a way of getting out in the world again. And that was what I accepted my life was. That was what I was told by the doctors, just you're gonna have to learn to live like this. So that was yeah, not the best news. And acceptance is a huge part of these conditions, I think. But there's also no hope within that.
So I just want to say, Jenny, listening to your story, it just sounds so incredibly unfair. I can't imagine coming into your teen years and adult life with all of these problems and thinking at the ripe old age of 16 that like, oh, this is just what life is. It's just, I'm just going to be in pain and struggling all the time. Never mind all the loss and the trauma and things that you were going through. And then to get this diagnosis that was a relief for about a second. And then, I really hope that's changing. I hope when people get this diagnosis now and they start Googling it like we all do, they start seeing a lot more optimistic stuff. But I'm just curious because you talked about acceptance. Did that mean acceptance that this was what the rest of your life was going to be like? Or what did you mean by that?
So I think at the time it was meant as accept that, yeah, this is it. Like, you're not going to be able to have children. You are going to end up, you're going to have pain every day. We can give you painkillers for that, but basically kind of don't set your expectations too high. People don't recover from this. And that was what I was told, and fighting it. And I see a lot of people in the kind of ME CFS community fighting this, and I don't think that helps, having it as like a battle. But it's accepting your limitations, and that was what really helped me, was actually, okay, I'm in pain, and accepting that. And there's a whole other stuff behind this. It's not just, okay, this hurts, that's fine, but to start having the curiosity around that and living to my limits, slowly increasing them, because otherwise I'd almost try and live as if I didn't have anything wrong with me, and then my body's like, oh no 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 no, you're ill. Yeah. You're in bed for the next 2 weeks. And there was that constant journey of, then I'm gonna go and do this, and then nope, no you can't. So yeah, I think the acceptance piece was definitely learning my limits, learning what I could do, being grateful for the stuff I could do, and being curious. Like, what's my body trying to tell me right now? I got a cold last week, for example. I was pushing myself a little bit too far, and that's my body just being like, yeah, stop now, Jen. You've gone a bit too far. Whereas now I'll listen to that. Where before I'd be like, no, I'm gonna keep going.
Very relatable. So within that acceptance that you were experiencing, was there a part of you that still felt like acceptance, but I'm going to keep searching for a way out of this?
In a way. And I think what actually helped me recover was coming from a place of, let's just see what I can do. So whatever is within my kind of window of tolerance, baseline, whatever you want to call it, like, let's see if I can do some movement. And what did help me recover was I changed my diet. So I got rid of something that was really inflammatory for me. I started to see a therapist, and that then gave me more energy, so I could then start doing a movement practice that I really enjoyed. And it didn't come out of a place of like, oh, yoga will fix me, Pilates will fix me, because I literally had I had a sticker on my mobility scooter that said, yes, I have tried yoga. No, it didn't work. Because so many people would come up to me and be like, so what's wrong with you then? And I'd tell them, they're like, oh, my cousin's best friend's wife tried such and such. Have you tried that? Yes. No. Thank you for your unsolicited advice. So yeah, it was coming from a place of acceptance and curiosity of, can I do something that I enjoy, and can I manage it without having payback, without having a crash? And if I enjoy that, that's going to bring more joy to my life. So that was where I started from, with that sort of attitude, really.
I'm smiling because I'm might have to play this for my husband, but I think it's a tough thing for people to understand who haven't gone through it. You know, we were recently in a situation where I felt like he was maybe going to be offering some advice to someone who was facing some health challenges, and I was kind of like kicking him under the table. He's like, if it were me, I would want to hear all of the ideas. And I think, yes, in theory, we think that until you go through it and you've tried all the things, and people keep giving you this unsolicited advice, like there's some sort of expert thinking of things that you haven't thought of. So I think it's a good piece to highlight that empathy for. We appreciate the suggestions and we are open-minded. That being said, I don't know, maybe wait till you're asked. I don't know. What do you think? What would you say to people out there who, you know, through their best intentions want to share their healing ideas?
So I went on a retreat recently for compassionate inquiry, which is the trauma-based therapy that I'm training in, which is through Gabor Mate. If you've heard of, I'm sure you've heard of Gabor Mate. So I'm training with him at the moment. On this retreat, we were invited, and that is the key. We are invited to offer advice. You know, this thing that I know of really helped such and such. Would you like to hear it? No, I'm all right. And as soon as you give someone an invite, their curiosity peaks, and they've also got a choice in that they can say, not right now, like I've tried everything, I'm exhausted, or oh yeah, thank you for sharing. But as soon as it comes in, like no one likes being told what to do. As soon as there's a little invite there, and I wish, you know, the wider world would have these kind of conversations. So when I was on this retreat, everything was invited, and then I came back to the real world and was like, oh this isn't reality. But it was a nice moment to be around people that weren't offering unsolicited advice. And even think, do you want to be heard right now, or do you want advice? Like, do you just want to be listened to?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all we need.
I think that's amazing. And you're right. As soon as if someone says that to me, and once I've given permission, then it feels like, okay, like I've opened myself up to this. Chances are I'm always going to say yes, but just haven't been given that opportunity shifts my mindset to now be more open-minded and not be in my head going like, stop.
Exactly. You're in a receiving state then.
Yeah, really well said. So I can see how there would be, I'm very impressed that you kept going and you had this curiosity and you've got to the place where you are, because when you started with this so young and this was all you ever knew and the experts told you this is all there ever would be, I could see how you could very easily just sort of get stuck here, for lack of a better word, thinking that there's no way out. But you did slowly find things that help you to get past this. So what would how would you summarize, what would be the key things you'd say that helped you to move forward?
I think the key things that helped me, I changed my diet. So I went vegan, and for my body, that really helped because I realized dairy for me is massively inflammatory. I've also got asthma and eczema and hay fever and allergies. And as soon as I got rid of dairy, all of those improved. I also then got a big surge of energy that I could actually go and do things. So I think just taking that inflammation out, and this isn't necessarily me saying everyone go vegan, but it's working with what your body wants, and whether that's, I don't know, it doesn't agree with gluten, or there's certain foods that, you know, your body doesn't process that well, or even like I was eating lots of processed food because I was exhausted and they were easy. I realize now that it makes me eat more and it doesn't fuel me. So fuel, I think, is a massive one that helped me. I was also seeing a therapist at the time, and all of these things kind of just fell into place at the right time. So I look back now and understand why. So seeing my therapist to talk through some of the trauma that I had been through, some of the relationships I was in, also getting rid of my toxic ex-boyfriend was very helpful in changing a few relationships. So therapy was definitely a big part that helped me. And with my new energy and headspace as well, I started equipment Pilates. And I say equipment because in the UK, when we talk about Pilates, it's very mat based. I think in the US, you'd probably understand it as like reformers and equipment. We don't have as many over here, but the support of the equipment really helped me. And having a teacher there that was understanding and I didn't have to like go at the class pace. There was lots of other people in the classes that had ME or fibromyalgia, and it was nice to just be in that kind of network. And some weeks we turn up and be like, oh, I feel rubbish, but I'm here. And they're like, yeah, if you just want to lie down for an hour, that's fine. Just having again that permission to just do whatever, you're here, that's enough. And then I built myself up very slowly, very gradually, and it was something I enjoyed. Like, I was that kid in school that forgot their PE kit. Like, I hated fitness. I am not one of those like, let's go for a run. Not the person. So for me to enjoy something movement related was really, yeah, crazy. So yeah, I think fuel, mindset, and addressing trauma and movement were the key things for me. And they're also things I see in people I work with that helps them as well.
I like what you said about the movement, and I think that's really important. And I think movement is a part of a lot of people's recovery, whether they see it or not. And I think most of us get conditioned to be terrified of exercise because it typically makes us worse. And it just adds a lot more stress around things. But, you know, lots of people share things like whether it's just slowly going for longer walks, or, you know, like when I was really sick, exercise, even 2 minutes made me really sick. I was so like, that was a conditioned response. Exercise, feel sick. But then I was traveling, and once I started feeling a bit better, I started scuba diving, and I could scuba dive and I'd be okay. And that's not super strenuous, but it's more than I thought I could do. Or sometimes I just rent like a little pedal bike to go around town someplace, and I could bike ride a little bit on flat roads, which I thought would have leveled me. So when I was happy and enjoying it, I could do more. But if I was doing something that was, you know, unpleasant or that I'd learned to become scared of, it made me really sick. So I just think that's an interesting observation. It's just something that I hear a lot of people share.
I think mindset's a big thing there, because
Yeah.
Through one of the embodiment trainings that I offer, I will say to people, like, imagine lifting your arm up and it's really painful and it's horrible and you don't want to do it and it's really heavy, versus let's lift your arm up and it's free and easy and light. And those are two completely different experiences. And I think the same comes to exercise. If we're saying I'm going to go to the gym for half an hour, but going to the gym will make me ill, you're probably going to feel ill after it. So I think if you can go in with the mindset of this is going to be okay, and also understand that exercise is it's stress tolerance. So often a lot of people with ME, chronic fatigue, fibro, have these conditions that they come from a place of trauma, and we don't tend to deal with our stress that well. Exercise is a form of stress. So if we can build up our tolerance to stress in a healthy way that our nervous system understands, we can then gradually kind of increase what we can tolerate. And that's not just through exercise, but also in life. Like certain things, like I was driving down a country lane in Devon earlier that's like really narrow. I just had the mindset of, you know what, if it's a footpath, I'll get myself out of it. Like, I can deal with this. Whereas a couple of years ago, or a few years ago, I would have been, oh my God, what if? And then I'd have got stuck, or I'd have driven into something. You know, so much of it is just that mindset of, this is okay. Like, I trust myself. I'm safe. I can get through this. And that is so key to healing, I think.
I think people should put that on their wall. I trust myself. I'm safe. I can get through this. I just feel like if we had that message coming at us all day long, it would make such a big difference.
Yeah. And I think this is where the role of the nervous system comes in, because we can tell ourselves this, but our nervous system will react in a different way. So like before the interview, for example, I was a little bit nervous. So I went and moved, because I'm like, I'm in my sympathetic state right now. I need to get some of this energy out. And by just doing a little bit of movement, I'm like, okay, cool. Right. I'm in a calm. And even now I can feel there's something here, and I'll come off this and I'll deal with that stress. And it's not bad stress, but it's something is reacting in my body. And rather than just, no, it's not here, and pretending it, I deal with it.
So you mentioned working with other people and supporting people. So it sounds like a lot of us, we go through this and then we end up wanting to continue to work and, try to kind of contribute or give back or support others. So how did you get on that path and what is it that you're doing now?
So I think lockdown really helped because I was in quite a stable job that I really enjoyed working with people in. And then lockdown hit and everything was done from home. And I just really didn't enjoy it. So I thought, what do I actually like doing? And it was Pilates. That was what got me kind of along this journey. So I started training in 2020. Um, and from there, a lot of people that would come to me, they'd read my story and they either had ME, they had fibromyalgia. People are now coming to me who've got long COVID. So lots of people that have autoimmune chronic illnesses come to me because they're like, you understand. So my clients have taught me a lot, and I've pivoted myself because of who I enjoy working with. So I've trained I'm training with Gabor Mate in compassionate inquiry, which is a trauma informed approach. I'm also a life coach. I've done a meditation course as well and an embodiment course called Franklin Method. So a lot of what I offer now is nervous system regulation, it's movement, it's mindset, it's coaching. So it's kind of bringing everything together to not have someone to rely on. It's for you to tap into your inner wisdom and know how to regulate yourself, know how to manage yourself, that you don't have to be so reliant on doctors or a coach or another person outside of you. I kind of help give people the tools through through all of what I've said. We do like some brain retraining in there. They're part of a community. We do some one-on-one stuff, and I'm launching a course in January, which is really exciting. So that's kind of what's brought me to it. I love working with people and seeing them progress and get through the fears and come to me, and yeah, they're learning things, they're feeling better, like they're messaging me and saying, I've woken up with no pain for the first time in 6 or 7 years. Or so yeah, having a client who has PTSD who has gone for a haircut for the first time in like 30 years, someone who's literally not had another human being near them in
Wow.
that long, and just seeing these progressions. And it's not for me to take as an ego hit, it's for me to be like, yes, you are living, like this is what life is about. Go and do the things you want to do. Go and get on your horse because you fell off the horse last year or you've not been well enough to ride. And whatever it is that lights people up, like it's amazing to see people just living their full life. And another reason I do this is because back when I was ill, I wish I had someone there to hold my hand and to talk through just stuff that's going on. Oh, I had a meeting with my manager and this is what happened and I'm reacting and what can I do about it? And just those sort of daily things that happen, and a community. When I was ill, there was just a lot of negativity, and I don't think that's a place to get you into a healing state from.
Yeah, I would have, I think, given just about anything to have had the support of a health coach like yourself when I was going through this. I think it's invaluable. I'm so glad so many people are doing it now. I think it's I think it's a really powerful thing.
And I remember when I was ill, like I took a £20,000 pay cut. I think I then got a loan for like a £4,000 or £5,000 mobility scooter, and I just think back now, like, oh, if I only had the money to invest in someone
Yeah.
like me now, and they were out there, I wish I had that. But I was kind of just fumbling around in the dark and wondering what could help. And yeah, I feel like I've come across what does help, and so much of it is nervous system regulation and going back and looking at your trauma and boundaries, mindset, and bringing movement into it as well.
I'm wondering if you've noticed, because there's a lot of talk in these interviews that I do about different personality traits or ways that we are socialized to behave that sometimes can compound or not cause illness, but be a part of the equation. So do you see any themes or patterns with that, with the people that you're working with or with it in yourself?
Yeah, 100%. So there's definitely traits that I have started to look into, and then the more kind of research I've done, they've kind of backed up my theories. So there's a lot of, I think we'd probably say type A personalities, perfectionism, people that are always putting others before them, lack of boundaries, and just not being able to stop. Just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going until your body just, that's it, you're done. I don't think I've met a single person who has ME who hasn't experienced some form of trauma, and some of them are big T traumas, the things that we would think of as trauma, and some are smaller T traumas. So like being adopted at a young age, or just not having the love and support that you need as a child. Suppressing anger, and that's definitely something I can relate to. I don't get angry. Jen's just relaxed. She's a chill out person. She's really nice. We're all nice people because we don't get angry because it's suppressed. And something Gabor Mate would say is our physical boundaries, our ability to set those boundaries and have healthy anger, are also linked to your immune system. So if you're letting anything in, if you're letting people kind of walk all over you, you're also letting all the viruses in. Your immune system has no boundaries either. So for me, I would get ill at kind of autumn time, and I'd stay ill for the whole of winter. I'd just catch one thing after another, and I see that in other people. I think another sort of personality trait is being passionate about things, dedicated, so being very identified with maybe your job role or being a mum, or often people are carers for other people. A lot of us are in the helping industries, again going back to, you know, putting everyone else first. And I think there's a big fear in disappointing other people, or almost a sense of being responsible for how other people feel. So there's some of the sort of personality traits that I see a lot of, and I just want to say that none of these are anyone's fault. I have been through a lot of these myself. These are learned traits that have kept us safe. So within the compassionate inquiry, sort of trauma coaching stuff that I do, we go back to why this has kept you safe, and almost thanking that part of you. So there's a reason that you might not be able to say no, because as a child, you didn't have the choice. So you had to suppress your own feelings in order to have an attachment. And I think, excuse me, so attachment versus authenticity is also a huge thing. Can you be your full self and still have people around you that love you? And we will always choose attachment over authenticity. So if you think back to being children, I can't be my full self unless I have this attachment. So we would always choose that attachment over the authenticity. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and something that all of that makes sense to me. It's something I really like that you highlighted. And for anyone who watched last week with Sarah, we were talking about this a bit, but we talk so much about personality traits and type A personality, and we've almost pathologized it. Like we were born this type A problematic person, but really a lot of it is coming from the layers of identity that we have. Like, I'm Canadian, I should act this way. I'm female, I should act this way. I live in this culture where my worth is determined by my achievement, by how many marathons I've run, by how many degrees I have. So I just like the way you kind of deconstructed it, and it's not a fault thing. It's not a blame thing. It's not a we're broken thing. It's, I think there are certain, aspects of our personality that we are born with for sure. But there's a spectrum that we can move in between there, and our environment really shapes that. So as much as I know I've contributed to this, talking about all of us type A's, and like it's just a thing that we are, but it's just there's so many things contributing to that, and it's not who we are, it's just a behavior that many times we're exhibiting, and yeah, can be changed.
And I think so a lot of the work I do is based on the polyvagal theory, and the kind of the top of the ladder of the polyvagal theory is connection. So like you said, I act this way because I'm Canadian. I do this because I'm female. Like we're conditioned to do that because it helps us fit in. And if you think back to when we were all kind of hunter-gatherers living in caves, if we didn't have our network, our tribe, we die. And these decisions are made when we are narcissistic children. And I say narcissistic in a kind way because when we're babies, when we're children, everything's about us. Babies don't care if they're crying. They don't care if they're disturbing their parents. They don't care that they're hungry. They just want to be fed. And that's kind of where we start. And then we've molded somehow into, oh no, well, I can't cry. I can't feel these things. You know, I have to fit in. I can't, you know, all of this stuff comes in and it's all conditioning. And I think some of that conditioning can contribute to us getting ill, but it can also be unpicked and help us get better.
This is all incredible, so insightful. I'm so glad you're out here doing what you do. If people wanted to learn more about you or follow you or connect with you, how would they do that?
So like I said, I'm starting a course in January. So I'm going to be starting a waitlist for that very soon. So find me I'm on Instagram at Chronic Illness Coach. You can go on my website, jennyadamscoach.co.uk. And I've also got a Facebook group called How to Recover from ME, CFS, Fibromyalgia, Long COVID, and other illnesses. So, or find me on Facebook, Chronic Illness Coaching. So have a look. Feel free to either send me a message, book in for like a 20-minute discovery call with me, see if I can help. I'm in the UK, but I work worldwide online. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from you if this is resonating with you.
And this, of course, will all be linked in the video description. So I really encourage you to expand that and check it out. And I really appreciate you, Jenny, not only the work that you do, but you just taking the time to tell your story. I hear time and time again that the biggest thing that people get from this channel is that hope. So I really appreciate you and your time today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I didn't have hope when I was ill. So it's nice to be able to give others help. It's possible.
Yeah.
You can go.
For those of you watching, I have a playlist of just full recovery stories. There are so many different inspiring stories. So if you're looking for a dose of hope, there's lots of it there. And I just want to say thank you to all of you watching, all of the support, all of the insights that you share in the comments, everything that you do to help keep this channel running. Specifically, I want to send a shout out to Anish Chopra. Thank you for becoming a channel member. It helps to keep all of this going. And if you are watching and you want to become a channel member, you can just click that join button below the video and get more information on how you can support these interviews and get access to a few extra perks. So yeah, thank you again, Jenny. Thank you again to all of you watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got lots out of it. And I hope to see you in one of these next recovery stories linked up here.